Welcome to the Night Files, where true terror lives between the trees and whispers in the dark. In tonight's tale, a seasoned park ranger finds something deeply disturbing during a missing person search, a staircase in the middle of the forest leading nowhere. To experience the horror fully, grab your headphones, turn off the lights, close your eyes, and let your imagination guide you. Just remember, some stairs aren't meant to be climbed. My name is Ben Lockwood. I was a forest ranger in the Pacific Northwest for over 15 years. There's one area deep in the reserve, called Section 12. We were always told to avoid, not restricted by law, just discouraged. When rookies asked why, we got vague answers like, nothing to see there, or old logging trails. But we all knew it was something else. No wildlife cameras were ever set up in that section. No patrol logs. It was just a blank space on our internal maps. In 2019, during fire season, I was paired with Claire, new ranger who didn't believe in the unwritten rules. She suggested we cut through Section 12 to save time on our patrol. I hesitated, but I didn't want to look superstitious, so we went in. From the moment we stepped into that area, the forest felt off. The trees grew too close together. The air was heavier. There was a sound I can only describe as breathing, coming from the trees themselves. Claire noticed it too. She joked, "Creepy vibe, huh?" But her smile didn't reach her eyes. About 2 miles in, we found something we weren't supposed to see. A wooden sign nailed to a tree. "Do not follow the whistling." That's when we heard it. A low, high-pitched whistle. Like someone trying to mimic a bird. But the tone was wrong. Unnatural. Claire wanted to check it out. I said no. She said I was just scared. I told her, "No, I'm being smart." We argued for a minute, and then the whistling stopped, and we heard something heavy move through the brush. Claire took off in the direction of the sound before I could stop her. I followed, calling her name, but my voice felt swallowed by the trees. That's when I stepped into a clearing and stopped cold. There was something standing there. It looked like a man, but too tall. Its limbs too long. Skin stretched tight, gray like ash. No clothes. Just standing there, silent, watching. Claire ran. I stood frozen. The thing tilted its head, almost curious. Then it took a step toward me. I ran. The trees were unfamiliar. The path behind me had changed. Branches curved inward like they were trying to trap me. Roots twisted underfoot. I was running blind. I could hear it behind me, but not with footsteps. It was the air itself, vibrating. A soft whisper echoing inside me.
Stay.
I slid down a slope and saw Claire crouched behind a fallen tree, breathing hard. She had blood on her shirt. "You saw it too," she said. "It doesn't always come out, only when it's hungry." I asked her what it was. She didn't answer right away. Finally, she said, "This forest doesn't belong to us." It never did. We stayed hidden until nightfall. Claire said the thing only hunts at dusk. She told me about a ranger in the 80s named Ray Burke, vanished in Section 12 when they found his body. His face was missing, not torn, just gone. Smooth skin where his features should have been. We tried to move quietly, back toward familiar trails. That's when we saw him. Jackson, another ranger who had gone missing 3 days before. He was just standing in a clearing, motionless. His eyes were open, blank. His mouth hung slightly open too. Claire whispered,
"That's not him. That's the copy."
I didn't believe her. But then the real Jackson stumbled out from behind a tree, barefoot, injured, whispering for help. There were two of him, one still, one shaking and bleeding. Claire aimed her sidearm at the standing one. It didn't react, just stared. Then it blinked. Its eyes turned completely black. She fired. It didn't flinch. Then it walked into a tree and disappeared, like it melted into the bark. We helped Jackson up. Claire was pale. I was shaking. We had to get out before nightfall. It took hours, but we finally found an old trail marker. The moment we stepped out of Section 12, everything changed. Birds chirped again. The wind returned. The air felt lighter. We collapsed near an outpost where a search team had been waiting. Jackson was rushed to the hospital. Claire refused to talk to anyone. I said we'd gotten turned around. I didn't mention the thing in the trees, or the copy, or the whisper. Claire quit the next week, moved out of state. Jackson recovered, physically, but he still stares off sometimes, like part of him never came back. I stayed on the job a little longer, but whenever rookies asked about Section 12, I told them, you can go anywhere, just don't go there. Now I'm retired. Sometimes I hike near those trails again, and sometimes I still hear it in the trees. That soft, unnatural whistle. And then the whisper. Stay. My name's Elijah Maddox. I've worked as a ranger at Black Hollow National Park for 13 years. I've seen everything from bear attacks to avalanche rescues. But nothing prepared me for what I found near Sector 12B. 3 days ago, we got a distress call from a woman named Claire Owens. Her father, Donald Owens, 62 years old, an experienced hiker, hadn't returned from a solo trail near the Old Creek Loop. The weather had been calm. No storms, no alerts. He left with a working satellite phone and a GPS unit. And yet, nothing. No signal. No ping. Just vanished. I was assigned to lead the search. The odd part, Donald's last GPS signal came from a section of the park that was officially closed off in the 90s. A remote zone we call Red Hollow. We stopped sending people there after a series of strange, unexplainable injuries. One guy fell and claimed something whispered his name right before it. Another claimed he walked in circles for days, though he was found after only 4 hours. Most of us chalked it up to poor terrain and paranoia. Still, as I headed in alone, with my walkie, rifle, and sat phone, there was a feeling in my gut I hadn't felt since Afghanistan. Something was wrong before I even got there. 2 hours into the hike, I noticed the trees were too quiet. No birds, no bugs. Even the wind seemed to stop just past a certain point, like nature was holding its breath. Then I saw the first shoe. Just one, caked in dirt, the laces torn, sitting in the middle of the path like it had been placed there. About 50 feet later, I found his backpack propped up against a tree. Not tossed, not dropped, propped, like someone had set it down gently. The GPS unit inside blinked with the same coordinates as the distress ping, and that's when I saw them. Up ahead, about 20 feet into the trees, a staircase, standing in the middle of nowhere, maybe 20 steps high, made of polished stone. Not broken, not moss-covered, not ruins. Just there. No handrails, no structure, just the stairs. They weren't on the map. They weren't on any logs. They weren't there yesterday. I radioed it in, of course, told dispatch what I saw, but their response was garbled. Negative copy, say again. Copy static. Repeat stairs. I tried 3 more times. The line cut every time I said the word stairs. I don't believe in curses, but I do believe in signs. So I didn't climb. I circled around it, kept a 30-foot distance. Took pictures, though my phone kept glitching out when I aimed at it. That's when I saw the footprints. Not boot prints like mine. Bare feet. Small, child-sized. Leading away from the base and deeper into the forest. I followed them. I had to. The prints led to a shallow hill. And at the top was something I can barely describe. A second staircase. This one made of blackened, burnt wood. Twisted, like it had been scorched in a fire. But no ash. No sign of any burn nearby. I saw movement at the top. A silhouette. Human. Motionless. Watching me. I raised my radio again. Static. Hello. I called. Donald Owens? Park Ranger. Are you injured? No reply. The figure didn't move. Just stood there. When I approached, it was gone. No footprints. No trail. Just trees and leaves. I turned around to head back to the first site, but the stairs weren't behind me anymore. Panic set in quick. I marked every tree I passed on my way in, orange flagging tape. I turned back toward where I should have seen my own tape. Nothing. The forest had changed. Trees were in different places. The moss grew on the wrong sides of trunks. And somehow, I was back near the original shoe I found. The path had reset, but my footprints were gone. I walked for hours, going in one direction using my compass. Then I saw myself, standing across a shallow ravine. Same uniform, same hat, holding my rifle. He looked at me, but didn't speak, just raised one hand slowly and pointed behind me. I turned. The stairs, the first ones I saw, were behind me again. This time, I heard a sound, like wind passing through bone. Then a voice. My own. Climb, it said. Find a rest. Something was pulling me toward them. Not physically, psychologically, like a hook in the mind. I forced myself to back away, eyes locked on the stone. I snapped a photo again. The photo showed no stairs, just trees. Night fell fast, too fast. The forest went black in less than 5 minutes. I built a small fire and sat with my back to a tree, rifle across my lap. My thoughts were coming undone. I couldn't remember how long I'd been out. Couldn't remember if I ate. Couldn't remember my own phone number. Around midnight, the forest lit up, not with fire, but with cold light. From the top of a hill came a third staircase, glowing faint blue, floating above the ground. Made of metal, on it stood Claire Owens, the missing hiker's daughter. Only, it wasn't her. Not really. Her skin was gray. Her eyes were completely black. And her voice, when she spoke. Dad climbed. I followed. Now we wait for you. Then she turned and vanished. I ran. Didn't think, just ran. Eventually, I collapsed at a creek. Hours later, a chopper found me. I was 10 miles off my original course. They told me I was missing for 4 days. But to me, it had been one night. They never found Donald Owens. My photos were corrupted. My GPS history was blank. My radio logs were wiped. They let me take 2 weeks of medical leave. Said I was likely dehydrated, hallucinating. But I know what I saw. And every now and then, deep in the woods of Black Hollow, hikers still report seeing perfect staircases that vanish when you look away. They say if you climb them, you don't come down the same. I don't tell this story to scare people. I tell it because I need someone to believe me. Even if it sounds crazy, even if it gets dismissed as some backwoods ghost tale. I know what I saw. I know what followed me. My name is Lucas Granger. I used to be an environmental surveyor, worked for a private contracting firm that mapped and reported on undeveloped land across the Pacific Northwest. I was the guy who hiked miles into forested terrain with a GPS, a drone, and a backpack just to take notes no one would probably read. Most days, it was just me, the trees, and the sound of boots crunching dirt. But in the summer of 2016, during a solo survey in a section of Idaho wilderness near Copper Creek, something happened that changed me. Not just my career or my sanity. I came back from that trip a different person. And no matter how far I've moved since, I'm not sure I ever really came back alone. The assignment was standard. A 3-day solo sweep through an uncharted stretch of federally owned forest. It wasn't unusual. These were areas being considered for conservation or resource analysis, and I'd done dozens of them before. I was in shape, well-equipped, and honestly, I liked the silence. The isolation gave me peace. The first day, everything was normal. I set up camp near a stream, logged some tree species, took aerial drone shots, and checked my maps. The forest was old but beautiful, dense firs, heavy canopies, moss that swallowed sound. On day 2, around mid-morning, I stumbled across something that didn't belong. It was a staircase, just sitting there, alone. A freestanding set of stairs made of stone, maybe 12 steps high, tucked into a shallow slope. There was no sign of ruins. No remains of a house or cabin. No walls. No chimney. Nothing. Just the stairs. I stood there for a good 5 minutes, trying to make sense of it. I took a photo, pulled out my GPS, marked the location. I'd seen strange things in the woods before, abandoned sheds, rusted out trucks, even old moonshine stills, but never this. It looked like it had been placed there. Clean. No debris. No vines or rot. The moss on the steps looked like someone had arranged it carefully. It made no damn sense. Then, out of a weird curiosity, or maybe something deeper, I climbed them. Not all the way, just 2 or 3 steps. Immediately, the forest went quiet. I mean silent. Not, you're deep in the woods quiet. This was different. No birds. No bugs. No wind. Just stillness. Heavy and thick, like something was pressing against the air itself. I froze. Something deep inside told me to get down. I did. I backed away from the staircase and didn't look back. Not yet. Later, at camp, I wrote it off as a weird structure from logging days. Maybe a fire lookout had stood there once. Maybe my nerves were just frayed, but I still couldn't sleep. The silence I'd felt stuck in my head. Then, just past 2 a.m., I heard footsteps. Not animal sounds. Not a branch breaking. These were deliberate. Heavy. One at a time. Thump. 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 It sounded like someone climbing stairs. Slowly, I sat up in my tent. Every hair on my neck stood up. I grabbed my flashlight and unzipped the flap, expecting to see a bear or a moose. But there was nothing. Nothing. Except the stairs. They were back, standing maybe 20 feet from my tent. I swear on my life, I had hiked at least 5 miles away from where I found them. I had changed directions 3 times. There's no way I circled back. And yet, there they were. Same moss, same pattern, just standing in the dark, completely out of place. I didn't sleep that night. At first light, I packed up and left the valley. Fast. But no matter how far I hiked, I kept feeling something watching me. Not animals. Something else. I made it back to my truck by sunset and peeled out of there. The moment I got back to town, I filed my report, but left out the stairs. Who would believe me? A few odd GPS anomalies, sure. Some unexplained elevation markers, fine, but not ghost stairs. For a while, I convinced myself I imagined it, until they started showing up in my dreams. Every night, I saw them. Same steps, same moss. Except now, they were closer. Sometimes they'd appear at the bottom of my apartment building's stairwell. Sometimes in the woods outside a window that shouldn't show trees. Once, I woke up and saw them at the foot of my bed. I screamed, turned on the light, and they were gone. I started losing sleep, drinking too much. I took time off work, then quit altogether. Moved to Boise to stay with my sister. I figured being around people in the city would help, that the presence would fade. It didn't. One night, I went out to the balcony to smoke, and there they were, in the parking lot, the stairs, just sitting there under the moonlight, perfectly still. 12 steps. And one more detail. Now they were facing my building. That was the last straw. I drove to a mental health center the next morning. Told a therapist everything. He said it sounded like trauma mixed with sleep paralysis. Gave me meds. But the meds didn't work. Because then it wasn't just in dreams. One night, I woke up to hear footsteps. The slow, deliberate kind. Not coming upstairs, but walking around the room. On carpet. I held my breath. Didn't move. Something walked past my bed. Twice. And when I finally got the courage to turn on the light, I saw muddy prints. Leading to the wall. And ending there. Like something had walked straight through. I've tried everything since. Therapy. Moving states. Sleeping in hotels. Destroying the boots I wore that trip. Even burning the gear I used in Copper Creek. Nothing helps. The stairs. They followed me home. And the worst part? They're not just watching anymore. They're closer. A few nights ago, I woke up with the sharpest pain in my legs. Felt like something had grabbed me. I looked down, and for half a second, I swear I saw hands. Cold, dirty hands pulling at my ankle. And behind them was a step. The bottom step. I haven't slept since. I don't go near windows. I never turn off all the lights. I keep the TV running, the fan humming, just to drown out the silence. But it doesn't work, because I still hear it. Like someone climbing stairs. And I know what comes next. If you ever see stairs in the forest, don't go near them. Don't touch them. Don't even look at them too long. Because once they see you, they never let you go. And they will follow you home.